Close your eyes and let your breath slow down. You're lying in your quiet room, but in just a moment, you'll step into a journey across thousands of years of history. Imagine yourself standing on endless golden sands of ancient Egypt. The desert wind brushes gently across your skin, carrying the dry heat and the strange fragrance of resin from temples long forgotten. Before you, the sun is setting, its fiery orange glow reflecting off towering stone pillars and the colossal statues of pharaohs. From a distance, you hear the rhythm of drums, echoing like the heartbeat of an empire. And there, at the very center of power and glory, stands Ramses II, remembered as the greatest king in all of Egypt's history. He was not only a pharaoh, but a warrior, a builder, and in the eyes of his people, a living god. Tonight, you'll travel with me through his 66-year reign to witness the battles that shook nations, the monuments carved in stone that bear his name for eternity, and the mysteries that still spark human curiosity thousands of years later. As you listen, let your imagination carry you further. Let the whispers of history become waves that lull you into a deep sleep. And if you're listening from anywhere around the world, leave a small note with your time zone or the city you're in, so we know that tonight, many souls are stepping together into the dream of ancient Egypt. Relax your body. Let your eyelids fall gently. From this moment on, you are not only hearing a story, you are living inside it. Chapter 1. The Rise of a Pharaoh. You're still standing in the vast desert, where golden sand stretches like an endless ocean all the way to the horizon. The sky glows deep purple at dusk, and in the soft wind you hear whispers from the past. Before you lies a long road paved with worn stones, shaped by the footsteps of thousands of years. The road leads you to a massive gateway, where two sandstone lions sit solemnly, guarding the entrance. As you step through, the gate seems to open not just into a palace, but into an entire forgotten world. You feel each step echo on the cold stone floor, as if the past itself is touching your body. And here, the story of Ramses II begins. They say Ramses was born during the reign of Seti I, a strong and ambitious king. From childhood, Ramses was unlike any other child in the palace. Picture him at the age of 10, standing under the blazing sun, eyes gleaming, a wooden sword in his hand as he trained alongside grown soldiers. The shouts of the warriors echoed across the training ground, and though Ramses was still just a boy, there was no fear in his eyes. He had been chosen early not only to be a prince, but to become the symbol of a dynasty that would last more than 6 decades. The priests whispered that the stars on the night he was born had formed a rare constellation, foretelling an extraordinary destiny. In your mind, the scene shifts. Now you're walking into the grand hall of P. Ramses, the magnificent capital that would one day bear his name. The tall walls are carved with images of gods, their shadows flickering mysteriously in the torchlight. The faint scent of incense lingers in the air, mingled with the chill of stone and the sharpness of metal. At the far end of the hall, Seti I sits upon a throne of gold and rare wood, his gaze fixed on his son. Ramses is still young, yet his father sees in him something no one else possesses. A strange resolve, a spark that convinced Seti that this empire could become greater than any enemy beyond its borders. You move closer and hear Seti's voice, rumbling like thunder through the vast hall. He tells his generals that Ramses will be trained as a warrior, not merely raised as a prince living in luxury. He will learn to ride horses, to draw the bow, to command the chariot, and to listen to the voice of the gods. From that moment on, Ramses' destiny was set. You can almost feel the weight of time settling on the boy's small shoulders, yet his eyes shine bright, showing no hint of fear. Night falls, and you follow Ramses into the palace courtyard. The stars above burn brightly, and the Nile glitters like a silver ribbon winding through the desert. Ramses lifts his gaze to the sky, listening to the wind sweeping across the river, as if the god Amun were whispering secrets only for him. You stand beside him, sharing this sacred moment. From an early age, Ramses believed he was not just human, but a vessel of the gods, born to carve his name into stone and leave an immortal mark on history. Close your eyes again, and a new morning appears. The pounding of drums echoes through the city. Ramses steps into the square, where hundreds of soldiers stand in perfect rows, their swords and spears glinting in the sunlight. They bow to the boy, not just because he is a prince, but because his very presence carries a sense of command. You hear the hooves of horses strike against stone, the roar of voices shouting, and through all the noise Ramses stands tall, like a young tree ready to grow into a towering giant. In this dream of history, you see him learning the ways of the gods, the cosmic balance that Egyptians believed the pharaoh alone must preserve. Ramses learns that his duty is not only to lead armies, but to ensure that the Nile keeps flowing, that the sun rises each morning, and that the eternal order of Egypt endures. These lessons etched themselves into his soul, preparing him for the day he would declare to the world that he was a living god among men. You follow Ramses through his youth. You see him riding a chariot, racing across the training field under the scorching sun, sweat streaming down his face, but his eyes still burning with determination. You watch him draw a bow until the wood nearly breaks, the arrow piercing straight through a heavy target. You hear his deep, steady voice addressing the people, resonant like the Nile in flood. Each passing day, the boy grows closer to the throne, and you, his silent companion, witness the making of a legend. When Ramses was just in his 20s, his father took him on military campaigns. Imagine yourself beside him, feeling the jolt of the chariot as its wheels grind over sand, the horses neighing, soldiers shouting their battle cries. Amid the chaos, Ramses remains calm, as though born to master the storm. They say when he commanded even a small force, they fought with the strength of thousands, because his gaze made them believe the gods themselves marched at their side. Then one day, grim news spread through the palace. Seti I had died. You see the grand funeral, incense rising in heavy clouds, horns sounding low like a farewell lament. Ramses walks before the coffin, his head bowed, but his eyes unwavering. At that moment, the entire empire turned to him, and you know that from this instant, a new pharaoh had risen. Ramses II, young and resolute, would ascend the throne, and with him, Egypt's history would enter a golden age. As you open your eyes in this dream, you see colossal statues rising along the Nile. The sound of hammers striking stone echoes, as if the empire itself has a heartbeat. Each strike carries the name of Ramses into eternity, and with each echo, you drift deeper into sleep, where the story of Ramses II will continue, full of mysteries yet to be revealed. Chapter 2: The Battle of Kadesh. You drift deeper into the dream of history. As your breath slows, the world around you changes. No longer are you in the golden halls of the palace, but on a vast plain along the Orontes River, where dry grass sways in the hot wind. Before you, the ground shakes beneath pounding hooves. The grinding wheels of chariots echo through the valley. This is Kadesh, the fortress city of the Hittites, where the fate of two of the greatest empires of the ancient world will clash in a battle never to be forgotten. You stand within the Egyptian camp, where massive banners snap in the wind, each one marked with the falcon of Horus, a reminder that the gods are watching every step. Thousands of soldiers stand in perfect formations, their spears and shields flashing under the burning sun. The air is so tense you can feel your heartbeat falling in line with the drums of war. At the very center, Ramses II stands tall upon his chariot. His hair is bound beneath the crown of a warrior. His bronze armor gleams in the midday light. His eyes shine, reflecting not only the sun, but the unshakable faith in his destiny. You hear his voice thunder across the ranks, strong, commanding, as if each word carves itself into the hearts of his soldiers. He reminds them they fight not just for their king, but for Egypt, for the gods, for the immortality of their souls. You feel those words settle into your bones, making your grip on the spear steady, your stance unyielding. The horizon darkens with rising dust. You see the silhouettes of Hittite chariots storming forward like a raging tempest. They are many, larger, louder, their war cries filling the sky. Fear stirs in you, but then you catch the calm, blazing eyes of Ramses, steady as a torch in the storm, and your heart steadies again. Ramses draws his bow and the first arrow flashes through the air, striking the enemy like lightning. The war horn blares and the battle erupts. You hear the thunder of hooves, the grinding of iron wheels, the clash of metal against metal, the cries of men. You are swept into the chaos, yet every detail is sharp, as if you were living this moment yourself. You see Ramses charge into the heart of the fray, his chariot slicing through enemy lines like a blade splitting the earth. The Hittites thought they had set a trap, but Ramses turns it into a stage for his fury. Arrows hiss through the air, men scream, horses shriek. The battle becomes a fierce symphony of war. Through it all, Ramses stands unshaken, loosing arrows, guiding his horses as if they share one soul. They say he held off thousands alone, and you, standing at his side, see that he does not falter, his gaze burning with the fire of Ra himself. Time seems to freeze. Dust chokes the air. The drums thunder louder. And then from the distance, Egyptian reinforcements appear. They are the warriors of Amuru, loyal allies, storming onto the battlefield at the perfect moment, like a fresh wind scattering the smoke. The tide shifts. Ramses rises high in his chariot, lifts his weapon, and shouts words like rolling thunder. The Egyptian soldiers erupt in cheers, their spirits ignite, and what was a nightmare transforms into a hymn of triumph. You feel the power of that moment. The Hittites, certain they had cornered Ramses, now stumble back in shock. The Egyptians see not just a king, but a living god before them. In their eyes, Ramses is the embodiment of victory, of immortality. The walls of temples later told this story in carved hieroglyphs, celebrating it as a glorious triumph. History may argue, some may claim it was only a draw, yet in the memory of those who lived it, Ramses had turned a brutal clash into an immortal legend. You leave the battlefield and step into the Ramesseum, the temple where the walls still bear carvings of Ramses in his chariot, bow drawn, enemies crushed beneath him. Torchlight flickers across the reliefs, making the scenes shift as if alive, as if you can still hear hooves pounding, voices shouting, arrows whistling. You realize it was more than propaganda. It was the deep faith of a nation in their king who saved them from destruction. You step quietly out of the temple, into the desert wind once more. The battle is over, yet its echoes still beat in your heart. Ramses II had not merely fought a battle. He had carved his name into stone, transformed himself into legend, and turned history into the dream you are living tonight. Chapter 3: The Great Monuments of Ramses II. You leave the battlefield of Kadesh, the dust settling, the roar of hooves and weapons, fading like a distant storm. In this dream, you do not awaken, but drift southward along the winding Nile, glimmering like a silver ribbon across the desert. Ahead, under the blazing sun, you see colossal stones dragged by human hands, hear the shouts of workers, the beat of drums, the grind of rock against wood echoing like the heartbeat of the earth. This is Egypt, in the golden age of Ramses II, where every monument is not just a temple, but a declaration of immortal power. You stand in the grand square of Ramses, the shining new capital Ramses built. Towering columns rise all around, carved with gods, battles, and the figure of the king. The city glows like a dream, with straight, paved streets, canals of the Nile flowing into every quarter, bringing abundance to its people. You hear the rush of water, the laughter of children, the bustle of markets alive with voices and trade. All these sounds weave into the music of life, showing that under Ramses, Egypt thrived, not only in war, but flourished in peace. Your eyes lift to a colossal statue of Ramses, nearly 70 feet tall, carved from a single block of stone. His stern gaze stretches toward the horizon. You stand at its base, feeling yourself as small as a grain of sand in the desert. Yet the power radiating from it makes you feel as though the king still lives, still watching, stern yet protective. Now you find yourself in Abu Simbel, at the far southern frontier, where two great temples rise from the mountainside. 4 colossal statues of Ramses sit side by side, hands on knees, faces unyielding, eyes piercing through time itself. As the sun rises, golden light pours straight into the temple, illuminating Ramses and the gods within. Your heart slows, as if witnessing a sacred rite where nature and architecture merge into a prayer offered to eternity. The Egyptians believed these temples were not only to honor Ramses, but to warn southern foes that this border belonged to an invincible king. You step inside, where dim light falls on intricate carvings. You see Ramses in battle, riding his chariot, arrows flying, the gods at his side shielding him. Each line tells the same story you witnessed at Kadesh, but here it is immortalized in stone. The world falls silent. Only your heartbeat remains, echoing with the breath of the temple. You feel as though you too are becoming part of history, your presence carved into these walls alongside the great Pharaoh. Your dream carries you onward, into Luxor, where 1,000 torches glow across towering columns, each one etched with hieroglyphs, telling of wealth, ritual, and the sacred order of the kingdom. When you place your hand on the stone, the chill runs through your palm, as if thousands of years of history flow straight into your veins. You see priests chanting, incense rising, voices droning in rhythm, pulling you deeper into a trance. You see Ramses among the people, lifting his hands in offering to Amun, his voice booming like thunder, while the crowd kneels, believing he is not only their king, but a messenger of the gods. Every monument, every statue, every temple is a message. Ramses wanted the world to know he lived. He ruled. He carved his name into stone so no wind could erase it. You understand now why he was called the Great, not only for his battles, but for the eternity he planted in each pillar, each wall, each carved relief. As you step out of the temple, the desert wind brushes past again, carrying dust and unfamiliar scents. You look back at the monument standing tall beneath the purple sky of dusk. They are not just stone and sand. They are dreams turned into reality. An endless song echoing across millennia. And you, listening now, have become a witness to that dream. Let your eyes close gently. Let your imagination drift deeper into the world of Ramses. These monuments are not only out there in the desert, they are etched within your memory. Pillars holding your dreams steady. And as your breath evens out, you know the journey is far from over. For history still holds many secrets waiting to be revealed in the long night ahead. Chapter 4. The Family and the Harem of Ramses II. You step out from the colossal gates of Abu Simbel, the desert glowing red in the sunset, the wind carrying the scent of incense and the distant thrum of drums from a faraway ritual. The dream does not release you. Instead, it guides you behind the golden palace walls into a world few have ever seen. This is the harem of Ramses II, a private realm, yet one of immense power, where the heart of the pharaoh beats to rhythms far different from the battlefield. You walk along a long hall lined with red carpets, lotus and falcon carvings rising from stone columns, and then you see vast chambers filled with torchlight and the fragrance of floral oils. This is the home of queens, princesses, and consorts, each like a star shining in Ramses' private sky. And among them all, one glows brightest, Nefertari, the woman he loved most. Her name carved alongside his on temple walls, an honor rarely given. You see Nefertari gliding gracefully in white linen, her eyes lined with black kohl, her hands adorned with gold, her smile tender, yet her gaze deep, as if she already knew her destiny. Ramses looks at her, not with the eyes of a king, but with the gaze of a man utterly in love. And you feel your own heart soften, as though you share in that timeless bond. But the harem is not only love. You hear the whispers of other consorts, quiet schemes, quiet desires for the pharaoh's favor. For here, affection is also power. And the one who wins Ramses' heart may shape the throne and Egypt's future. The air is sweet, yet tense, like a calm river hiding swift undercurrents. The dream carries you onward to another moment. It is the day Ramses seals peace with the Hittites after Kadesh. You see the northern envoys arrive in long robes and stern faces, and among them walks a Hittite princess, destined to become Ramses' diplomatic bride. She carries an unfamiliar beauty, her eyes bright but tinged with sorrow, as if she knows this union is not of love, but of politics. You feel a quiet ache in yourself, a breath that may be hers or may be your own, for you are so deeply woven into the moment. Crowds of Egyptians fill the streets, cheering as Ramses and the princess appear together. To them this is peace, proof their king subdued even enemies with both strength and wisdom. In their eyes, Ramses is not only pharaoh, but a living god who can turn war into harmony. You stand in the crowd. You hear the cries of joy, and you feel yourself celebrating, as if you too had been freed from war and touched peace. Yet when night falls behind heavy doors, Ramses sits alone. He has queens, sons, daughters, consorts without number. Yet in the flicker of torchlight, he is only a man facing silence. You see him touch a statue of Nefertari, his eyes distant, searching for something beyond power. You hear his sigh echo through the empty chamber, and your heart tightens. For behind the immortal mask of the king lives a lonely man, longing for love. You wander through rooms where children play, the sons and daughters of Ramses, the living future of the dynasty. Their young eyes gaze up at their father in awe, yet you notice the shadow of worry in the pharaoh's glance. For the greater the throne, the heavier the weight upon each child. And he knows not all destinies end in safety. You feel your own chest grow heavy, sharing the burden he cannot speak aloud. The harem of Ramses is a double world, a place of love, laughter, life and joy, but also of schemes, loss, and solitude. And as you stand in the glow and the shadow, you realize you are living the untold moments, the human truths hidden behind the towering statues you once gazed at in wonder. You hear the faint voices of distant listeners, the ones who left their questions across time. They wonder how Ramses felt when he married the Hittite princess. They ask if his love for Nefertari was truly deep, or if a king who was called a god could ever show weakness. And now, within this dream, you do not only hear the answers, you feel them moving in your own heart. As you leave the harem and step into a hall of light, you see Ramses' figure standing still at a window, gazing across the endless Nile. The moon ripples on the water, the wind stirs gently, and his voice comes to you, deep and solemn, like a message meant for you alone. I built an empire. I fought. I loved and I lost. But all was for one purpose, that my name would never be forgotten. A shiver moves across your skin, not from fear, but from emotion. You know this dream is carrying you closer to the truth, that even kings called immortal are still men, carrying joys and sorrows. And it is this that makes the story of Ramses II not only grand and eternal, but tender and human. A lullaby of history guiding you deeper into tonight's sleep. Chapter 5. Ramses II, through the eyes of his people. You leave behind the quiet harem, where love, power, and loneliness flowed like hidden currents, and step into the vast square of Pi Ramses. Before you, thousands of people gather, crowded beneath the burning sun, sweat glistening on their foreheads, yet their eyes shining bright. They are not here to trade or to listen to music. They are here for Ramses, the man they believe is not only their king, but the very embodiment of the divine. You blend into the crowd, your heart pounding in rhythm with their cries. When Ramses steps onto the high balcony, cloaked in white, wearing the red and white crown of Upper and Lower Egypt united, the air itself seems to stop. Voices thunder. He is Ra on earth. He is Horus alive. And you feel the vibration shake your chest, as if you too are witnessing a god in flesh and blood. In the eyes of the people, Ramses is no ordinary man. He reigned for 66 years, a number that feels almost supernatural in the ancient world, when few lived beyond 40. They say it was proof that the gods blessed him, and as you watch him from afar, you find yourself wanting to believe it too, for his eyes blaze as if holding the fire of the sun. But then you step into the Ramseum. Upon the colossal walls you see the scenes of Kadesh. You remember what you witnessed there, the chaos, the narrow balance of war. But here, carved into stone, everything is different. Ramses appears as the sole hero, alone against thousands, emerging in glorious triumph. The fear is gone, the confusion erased. Only victory remains. You place your hand upon the relief, the stone cold beneath your skin, and you feel the power of propaganda, the power to turn history into legend. You ask yourself, as so many modern voices once wondered aloud, if this is the true story, then which version have we believed until now? And you hear the whisper in your mind. History is not only events. It is the story carved into stone, so that thousands of years later, people still believe it is truth. You feel lost in a labyrinth between reality and myth, between man and God. You hear the questions echo again, the ones left behind by curious listeners. Who was Ramses in relation to Moses? Did they truly walk the same halls of the palace, live in the same era? Before your eyes appear two figures, one a king upon the throne, the other a prince raised in the palace. Two destinies side by side. One became the immortal symbol of Egypt. The other led a people out of Egypt. A chill runs down your spine. For this is more than history. It is timeless legend. Among the people you hear debates. How many lived in Egypt then? Some say millions, some say tens of millions. But as you look around, you see countless faces. Farmers, builders, soldiers, all gazing toward Ramses. And you understand, the number does not matter. What matters is the faith that under the shadow of the Pharaoh, they are protected, they are guided, they are living in a universe held in balance. You notice a few foreigners in the crowd, their skin lighter, darker, shaped by distant lands. They too bow before the image of Ramses. You remember the voices from across time, some saying he was black, some bronze, some golden under the desert sun. But here, in this dream, you see it does not matter. For in the eyes of his people, Ramses is not bound by color. He is the sun, the thunder, the eternal dream of a nation. You move closer and see a small boy clutching his father's robe, eyes wide with wonder. "Father, is that a god?" the boy whispers. And the father answers softly, "Yes, my son, he is our God." Your heart beats harder, for you know those words will live forever in the child's memory, passing faith through generations. And in that moment, you feel yourself believing it too. As the sun sets, red and gold light glows upon the colossal statue of Ramses, and you feel as though he is staring directly at you. You hear his voice echo, "I have turned sand and stone into eternity. I am Pharaoh. I am the living God." The sound lulls you deeper into sleep, yet it opens a door where you realize that truth and belief may sometimes be separated by nothing more than the blink of an eye. Chapter 6. Ramses II in the eyes of enemies and allies. You still stand beneath the commanding gaze of Ramses, your heart filled with the belief that he is a living god. Yet the dream draws you away from the crowd, across the Nile, over mountains and plains, to a distant land where the stone walls of the Hittites rise beneath a cold gray sky. This is Kadesh, once a battlefield, but now you see it through different eyes, the eyes of his enemies, the ones who once faced Ramses. You enter the great hall of Hattusa, the Hittite capital. Inside, torchlight flickers across harsh faces. Iron-clad generals with deep-set eyes, voices booming in the chamber. They speak of Ramses with a mix of respect and resentment. An old general rises, his voice rough and bitter. "He is the Lion of Egypt, who turned our victory into ashes." You hear the anger in his words, but beneath it, the echo of fear. Another interrupts. "Do not forget, without his reinforcements, without fortune, he would have fallen beneath our wheels." The hall erupts with murmurs, pride and truth tangled together, just like the voices of modern listeners once wondered aloud. Was it victory, or was it only propaganda? You stand among them, feeling the tension in Hittite hearts. To them, Ramses is not a mere enemy, but a formidable equal, a rival who could not be broken nor defeated. They carve his name into memory, not as one crushed, but as one who stood level, face to face. And in that moment, you realize history does not live as a single truth. It shifts with the eyes that behold it, with the hand that carves words into stone. The dream changes again. You are back in Egypt, this time in the throne room, where Ramses sits among envoys from Amurru, Canaan, and Libya. You hear their praises, flowing thick as honey, calling him the King of Kings, chosen by Ra. Yet beneath the blessings, you catch faint whispers of doubt. One envoy leans close to another, murmuring, "The Egyptians tell stories as though they never lose, but I have seen the battlefield. I know the truth is far more complex." You feel the air filled with contradiction, admiration tangled with suspicion. Ramses standing like a mountain, too vast to ignore, too immense to wholly accept. A parchment is unrolled before you. On it, carved in hieroglyphs and cuneiform, lies the treaty of peace between Egypt and the Hittites, what many modern scholars call the world's first surviving diplomatic agreement. You reach out to touch it, and the chill runs through your skin, as the image rises in your mind, Ramses clasping the hand of King Hattusili. No swords, no chariots, only two hands locked together, eyes wary yet acknowledging one another's strength. You hear the familiar whispers, like voices of distant listeners. So what is the truth? Who won? Who lost? You find yourself smiling within the dream, for you now understand. Truth is not always found in victory, but in survival. In the fact that both sides endured long enough to sign their names, to write the next chapter. And you understand why Egyptians carved in stone that Ramses triumphed, while the Hittites told another tale. Each side preserved faith for their people, and faith itself was the strongest weapon of all. You see Ramses once more, this time in a grand ceremony, the Hittite princess beside him. The crowd roars in celebration. They no longer think of battlefields. They see proof that peace is real. Joy spreads like a soft wind through your chest, and you recall the words of those who once said, "This shows Ramses was not only a warrior, but a master of diplomacy." You nod quietly, for the truth is alive before your eyes. But then you remember other voices. If this is the true story, then which version have we believed until now? And in that instant you see two images overlap. One Ramses, carved into stone reliefs, slaying thousands in radiant glory. Another Ramses, seated in his palace, pen in hand, signing treaties with rivals. Knowing truth is never perfect. And you, the listener, are placed between them, left to choose your own faith. As night falls, you stand outside the palace, music echoing into the air, the scent of incense carried on the wind. You lift your eyes to the towering statue of Ramses, and this time you do not only see the living god of Egypt, but also the man seen by enemies, by allies, by strangers from far-off lands. A man who could be legend, but could just as easily be a story told again and again, until it became immortal. You hear a voice, close and deep, as though Ramses himself. My allies saw me with reverence. My people saw me as a god, but my true self, only the stars above have ever known. The words press against your chest, heavy with both pride and loneliness. You close your eyes, letting that echo lull you deeper into the dream. Chapter 7. Ramses II and the Legacy of Faith. You are still standing beneath the pale Egyptian moon, the desert wind whispering like a distant song. This dream now carries you deeper into the world of the gods, where Ramses is not only king, but the bridge between humanity and the divine. You step into the temple of Luxor at night, torchlight flickering against towering columns, walls thick with carvings of the pharaoh kneeling before Amun, offering gifts of gold, silver, and incense. The chants of priests echo low and steady, like the heartbeat of the earth. Each word vibrates through your chest, slowing your breath, drawing your heart into the rhythm of their hymn. The Egyptians believed Ramses was no mortal. In life, he was the embodiment of Horus, and in death, he would become Osiris, lord of the underworld. You see him walking among the ranks of priests, his face solemn, his eyes lifted to the sky. Each step seems to touch not the ground, but the line between man and God. Your skin tingles, for you know his people looked upon him not as a ruler, but as a living deity moving among them. You see the ritual of sacred water. Cool water from the Nile is poured into a golden vessel, lifted by priests and offered to Ramses, who pours it upon the altar of Ra. In that instant, you feel the mist rise, brushing against your skin, as though the sun god himself were blessing you. You close your eyes and hear the whisper of the people. He is the light. He is Ra upon the earth. Your chest fills with a faith so strong that you too feel yourself kneeling, surrendering your devotion to the pharaoh. Another vision takes form, the rite of mummification, where the Egyptians believed the body must remain whole so the soul could live forever. Priests wear jackal masks of Anubis, their hands careful and precise, wrapping the pharaoh's body in pure white linen. You hear chants to Osiris, to eternal life beyond death. The room feels cold, yet peaceful, as though death itself were only a doorway for Ramses to step into eternity. You whisper inside yourself, perhaps this is why he is remembered, not just as a man, but as a god. In the dream you also hear other whispers, carried from the present. Listeners have asked, was Ramses truly the Pharaoh of Moses? You see the faint image of a man holding a staff, leading a crowd across the desert. The vision is hazy, veiled in mist. You cannot be certain if it is Moses, but you see two paths side by side. One of Ramses, holding Egypt firm, and one of the prophet, guiding his people away. The story has no clear end, and you understand why people remain curious, why legend always walks beside history. Another whisper stirs the curse of the pharaoh. You see strange light flickering within a tomb, hear the desert wind crying like mourning voices. You touch the carved walls, and a shiver runs down your spine. The Egyptians believed any who disturbed a pharaoh's rest would be struck by divine punishment. You step back, your heartbeat quickening. Yet you remember you are only dreaming, safe in this vision. Still, the fear lingers, a shadow pressing close, reminding you of unseen power. When you step outside, the moon is high, casting silver light upon the colossal statues of Ramses. They are not merely stone, but eternal prayers, carved to remind the world that he was the living God. You hear the whispers of his people carried on the wind. He is immortal. And in this moment, you feel yourself believing too. You sit upon the temple steps, the breeze moving softly through your hair. your breath slowing. You sense that you have just taken part in a sacred rite, both witness and participant. You feel faith, fear, and mystery blending together, weaving into a melody low and sweet, lulling you deeper into sleep. And as your eyes grow heavy, you hear a voice echo, as if Ramses himself were speaking into your soul. I am the son of Ra. I am the living God. I am immortal in the memory of humankind. You exhale slowly, letting the words guide you into the stillness of the night. Chapter 8. Ramses II, through the eyes of posterity. You are still seated before the temple, the desert wind whispering like a song from the past. But now the dream carries you farther, across thousands of years, into the world of posterity, where Ramses II is no longer the king upon the throne, but an eternal memory in the mind of humankind. You see the ancient Greeks arriving in Egypt. They pass through the temples, gaze up at the colossal statues of Ramses, and whisper to one another, "This is Ozymandias, King of Kings." They carved his name into their tales, and centuries later, a poet of the West wrote words that still echo. "Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." You hear those words resound, and a shiver runs through you. For even after 2,000 years, Ramses still inspires awe. You see the European expeditions of the 19th century. They sail along the Nile, their eyes wide as they behold the fallen statues of Ramses, half buried in sand. They write in their journals, "This is the proof of an immortal dynasty." You feel their curiosity, a mixture of wonder and reverence. For they do not see only stone. They see the shadow of a man who lived 3,000 years before them. You drift forward to the year 1881, when the royal tombs were uncovered. The mummy of Ramses II emerges into the light for the first time in millennia. Archaeologists stand in silence, unable to speak. His face is still there, the features intact, lips closed, eyebrows arched, as though he were only sleeping. You hear one whisper, "He is still here." Your heart tightens, for you realize Ramses lives not only in stone and story, but in the preserved body lying before you. The dream shifts again, and you see 1976, when Ramses' mummy was flown to France for restoration. At the airport, he was issued an Egyptian passport under the title King, Deceased. Military honors escorted him, as though he were a living head of state. Crowds in France stood solemn, bowing as the coffin passed. Emotion rises within you, for even in the modern world, Ramses was still honored as a king, still granted reverence as if he ruled among the living. Yet you also hear the debates echoing from modern voices. Some call him the greatest king. Others dismiss him as a master of propaganda. Before your eyes, the two images overlap. One Ramses, the builder of eternal monuments. Another Ramses, the storyteller of victories that may never have been. You feel yourself lost in the maze between truth and myth, and you understand that even posterity cannot escape the question. You hear debates of another kind, about the color of Ramses' skin. Some claim he was black, some bronze, some light beneath the desert sun. You look back at the mummy, and you know that whatever the shade of his skin, he remains the pharaoh, the man whose legacy is far too vast to ever be erased. You sense that these arguments reflect humanity's desire to claim him, to make him part of their own history. Another whisper comes, the familiar question. Was Ramses the pharaoh of Moses? You see a staff dividing waters, a multitude crossing the desert. The vision is hazy, blurred by mist. You cannot be sure, but you understand that it is the very uncertainty that keeps the legend alive. For when history and faith touch, people will always find belief, even if truth hides in shadow. You sit beside the coffin of Ramses, gazing upon his face, and you feel that his closed eyes are still watching you. His voice seems to echo. Posterity may argue about me, but no one can erase my name from the sands of time. A chill runs across your skin, because you know he is right. 3,000 years have passed, yet he still lives through poetry, through chronicles, through imagination, and now, through your dream. As you rise, the wind stirs again, carrying the scent of earth, of sand, of time itself. You feel you are no longer only a listener, but a witness. You are here, in the place where past and present meet, where Ramses II is not only the Pharaoh of Egypt, but the Pharaoh of human memory. You close your eyes, your breath slowing, and let his whisper guide you deeper into sleep. Ramses remains, murmuring through the sands, reminding you that power may fade, but memory is eternal. Ramses II and the legendary death. You stand once more inside the palace of Ramses, where once the drums of war thundered, where crowds once roared as Ramses appeared upon the balcony. But today the noise is gone. The air is heavy, the light grows dim, and you feel it in your chest. Something is about to happen. Ramses II, the king who lived beyond 90 years, who fought, who loved, who built an empire, now lies upon a cold stone bed, his breath slowing, each moment stretching into eternity. You walk slowly into the chamber. Around you are statues of guardian gods, torches flickering against walls carved with hieroglyphs. The thick scent of incense fills the air, making your own breath slow. You see Ramses, his frame frail beneath white linen, his face lined with the weight of time. Yet his eyes still shine, the same eyes that once conquered battlefields and stirred the hearts of a nation. Princes, princesses, priests, and queens surround him. Their eyes are red with tears, but no one dares to cry aloud. For to them Ramses is not only father, not only husband, but a living god. And how could one weep when a god departs, not to end, but to return to eternity? Your own chest aches, for you feel as though you too are one of them, standing witness to this moment of greatness. Ramses slowly raises a trembling hand, pointing toward the ceiling where the image of Ra glows in relief. His voice is hoarse, but clear. I have lived for Egypt. I have lived with the gods. And now I go to become eternal. Each word echoes inside your mind, raising goosebumps along your arms. You know this is not only the voice of a man, it is the voice of a legend. His breath slows, slower, until it stops. Silence falls. The torches waver as if bowing in farewell. And you feel it, the end not only of a man, but of an age. The funeral rites begin. A priest in the mask of Anubis steps forward, staff raised high. Chants rise, steady as the heartbeat of the universe. You follow the procession as Ramses' body is laid upon the stone altar. Skilled hands begin the embalming, linen wrapped around him, layer upon layer, each one binding his soul to eternity. You hear the scrape of knives, the murmur of Osiris's name, and you feel their fierce belief. Death is not an end, but a beginning, a journey into immortality. You stand within the tomb, torchlight glinting off walls thick with magical symbols. Golden scarabs are placed near his heart, canopic jars sealed with care to hold liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines. All done according to sacred law, so he may live forever in the Duat, the world beyond. You touch one of the symbols and a chill runs through your hand. as though the walls themselves still pulse with divine power. The coffin is lowered into the burial chamber. Heavy stone slides into place, sealing the passage. Hammers strike, each blow like the pounding of a giant heart, closing a life. Outside you hear the wail of the people, the howl of desert wind, and then silence. Ramses is gone, yet his name is carved into temples and statues, into stone that no time can erase. And then you hear whispers from the future. Voices speak of the curse of the pharaoh, that any who disturb Ramses' rest would face disaster. You see archaeologists of modern times lifting the coffin's lid, beams of light falling upon his face. A shiver races down your spine. The wind howls, and you do not know if it is real, or if it is the cry of ages echoing back. You look upon his face, sleeping for 1,000 years, still stern, still watching. You hear a deep voice, from nowhere and everywhere. I lived as a god, I died as a god, and I am still here. Your breath catches, your heart pounds, then slows, for the voice carries no threat. It carries comfort, a reminder that legend does not vanish. You step from the tomb into sunlight, the desert golden before you, and you know Ramses II is truly immortal. Not for his power, not for his wealth, but for memory. For even now, 3,000 years later, you and millions of others speak his name, argue, admire, dream of him. You inhale deeply, letting your body relax, the desert wind wrapping around you. You know this dream does not tell of death, but of eternity. And as your eyes close, Ramses' final whisper remains within your mind. I have never left. I only moved to live forever in your memory. Chapter 10. The Unanswered Mysteries of Ramses II. You remain before the tomb of Ramses, where the sunlight falls across massive stones. But the dream does not end. Instead, it opens a new doorway, leading you into the realm of mysteries, where questions outweigh answers, where Ramses II is not only a man who lived, but a shadow lingering within riddles left unsolved. You enter a vast chamber. Around you lie papyrus scrolls, carved stone tablets, reliefs that tell his story. Yet as you read, you see contradictions. Some say he won a glorious victory at Kadesh. Others insist it was only a stalemate. Some call him the King of Kings. Others dismiss him as a master of exaggeration. You feel yourself. You hear the whispers of listeners echoing in your mind. So what is the truth? Which version have we believed? The question reverberates like the hollow call of a cave. And you know that even after 3,000 years, the answer remains hidden. You see Ramses' image in the imagination of many. To some he is a black king, proud and powerful from Africa. To others he is bronze-skinned, a desert warrior under the burning sun. Still others picture him with pale skin, red hair, like mummies unearthed in the sands. You see all these images overlapping, shifting like broken mirrors reflecting countless truths. And you realize perhaps Ramses belongs to no single color, but to all, for he has become a symbol of humanity itself. You go deeper and hear debates about Egypt's population. Some claim millions lived under Ramses, others say far fewer. Yet as you look around in your dream, you see endless fields, workers hauling stone, markets crowded with voices, soldiers stretching in lines without end. You cannot count them. And you realize the number never mattered. What mattered was the image: Egypt, vast, powerful, thriving under Ramses. And it is that vision that earned the reverence of later generations. You see again the hazy figure of Moses, a staff in hand, leading his people through the night, a pillar of fire guiding their way. The vision flickers like smoke, caught between history and faith. You hear the question: was Ramses the pharaoh of the Exodus? It echoes through temples, classrooms, and the voices of those who watch and wonder even now. But when you step closer to find the answer, the vision dissolves into mist. You understand some truths will never be spoken clearly, for the power of legend rests in its mystery, where each person is free to believe in their own way. You walk into another chamber where strange reliefs appear. Egyptian warriors wear iron armor like Roman soldiers, helmets that did not exist in Ramses' time. You startle, unsettled. Then you hear the voices of modern viewers. These images do not match. This is confusion. You touch the relief, and it shatters into fragments, scattering like dust. You understand that history is often retold through eyes that did not live it, and truth becomes tangled with imagination, creating stories that are never easy to untangle. You hear whispers again, conflicting dates. Some records say Ramses married the Hittite princess in year 36 of his reign, others in year 21. Some claim he ruled 66 years. Others doubt the number, suggesting it was stretched by scribes. Scrolls fly around you like birds, each carrying a different truth. You try to catch one, but they crumble into golden dust, leaving your hands empty. You understand the facts are gone. Only endless debate remains. You stand in the dark chamber, voices circling you. One asks, if this is truth, why are there so many versions? Another replies, because truth is never simple. It is written by rulers and retold by those who choose to believe. A chill runs through you, for you realize these words are not only about Ramses, but about all of human history. At last you step outside again, beneath the Egyptian sky. Stars shimmer above, the sands glisten at your feet. You understand that the mysteries of Ramses will never be fully answered. Yet it is this very uncertainty that keeps him alive, that draws millions to wonder, to argue, to dream of him still 3,000 years later. You inhale deeply, relaxing as the desert wind carries you towards sleep. In your mind, his voice echoes. Truth may be blurred, but my name shines brighter than the stars. And you let those words cradle you, drifting deeper into the dream of this night. You stand in the dark with the Egyptian sky, where the moonlight falls across the colossal statues of Ramses. But the dream carries you further across borders, across mountains, across time itself, to witness how Ramses' legacy spread into other civilizations. You find yourself once more at Kadesh, but this time it is not a battlefield. Instead, you see two kings, Ramses and Hattusili, signing an inscribed tablet. A voice echoes, "This is the first peace treaty in human history, a document that thousands of years later, the United Nations would display in New York as a symbol of diplomacy." In that moment, you feel Ramses is no longer just the king of Egypt, but a founder of the very art of international negotiation. Your journey continues. You see ancient Greeks arriving in Egypt. They walk through temples, gaze at Ramses' statues, and call him by the name Ozymandias. They carry his story back to their homeland, telling later generations about the immortal king of the East. You hear the whisper of Herodotus, the Greek historian, writing of Egypt's wonders, and within his words Ramses appears as living proof of unmatched greatness. You feel the wave of admiration spreading outward, beyond Egypt's borders. You see the mighty Roman Empire. Its emperors come to Egypt, staring at Ramses' monuments, and in their eyes you see awe. Many Roman structures echo Egyptian designs, inspired by vast temples and immortal statues. Ramses lingers like a haunting shadow, reminding them that before Rome was born, there was already a power beneath his feet. You hear the faint murmur of a Roman emperor. This is the shadow we shall never surpass. Time shifts again. You walk into the Middle Ages, where Arab travelers tell tales of Egypt. They speak of Ramses as a giant king of the distant past, his story twisting into legend. You hear their voices claim he was the king who once defied Moses. The stories lose historical precision, but grow in mythic fire, keeping his name alive through centuries. You move into the European Renaissance. Western scholars open books, read of Egypt, and once again Ramses rises. No longer just a pharaoh, he becomes a symbol of eternity itself. Artists and sculptors recreate his image, as if trying to bring him back to life within the heart of Europe. Now you step into the 19th century. Western archaeologists enter the Valley of the Kings, uncovering Ramses' mummy, and the world stirs in wonder. European newspapers proclaim him the greatest pharaoh of Egypt. Their words ripple across continents, engraving his name deeper into Western imagination, ensuring that Ramses would live forever in global history. You hear the modern audience whispering, was Ramses truly the greatest, or just a master of propaganda? And once again you see two images overlap. One Ramses, builder of temples, signer of peace treaties, honored like a god. Another Ramses, carving stone to turn stalemate into victory, reshaping memory into myth. You feel yourself standing between belief and doubt, and it is this very tension that keeps him alive in human minds. The dream carries you to the modern world. In museums across Cairo, Paris, and London, millions stand before Ramses' mummy, gazing at his face. Some feel reverence, some curiosity. Some shiver at the thought of a pharaoh's curse. Yet all know they are standing before one of history's giants. Your own heart beats faster, for you too are one of these witnesses. You see now that Ramses does not belong solely to Egypt. He belongs to humanity. He is written into poetry, carved into textbooks, depicted on film, woven into global culture itself. And you understand, this is his greatest influence. Ramses transcended borders and centuries, becoming a universal symbol of the human desire for immortality. You take a long breath, feeling the desert wind and the echoes of civilizations long past. You know this dream has carried you across thousands of years to reveal that Ramses does not only belong to history, he belongs to the present and to the future. As you close your eyes, a voice resounds. I lived in Egypt, but I am remembered across the world. That is true immortality. You breathe slower, letting his words carry you into deeper sleep. You open your eyes and find yourself standing before the grand steps of the Luxor temple. The sun is setting, painting the sky in deep crimson, and the fading light glows across the towering stone columns, each carved with images of Ramses in his proud, commanding stance. You tilt your head back, feeling as small as a grain of sand before this immortal monument. Footsteps echo through the vast halls, mingling with the whisper of the wind, and it feels as though you are walking to an ancient rhythm, composed to remind humanity of eternity itself. You run your hand across the cold stone, and the carvings remain sharp even after 3,000 years. In that moment, you hear a whisper rising from the wall. I was here, and I am still here. You step deeper inside, where dim light floods the great hall, illuminating statues of the pharaoh seated in divine authority. Their stone eyes follow you no matter where you walk. Your heart slows, as though you have stepped into the presence of a god. In your mind, you hear the voice of modern visitors. Standing here feels like the past is alive again. And you feel the same truth, because this space is not merely stone, it is living memory, where Ramses still breathes with the wind and stands in the light of the Egyptian sun. The dream carries you from Luxor to Abu Simbel, where two colossal temples are carved straight into the rock face. Before you rise 4 statues of Ramses, each more than 60 feet tall, seated proudly, gazing out over the Nile. The desert wind sweeps through, carrying grains of sand, yet the statues remain unmoved, as though time itself is nothing more than a jest. You lift your eyes toward them, your vision blurring in the blinding sunlight, and you feel as though you are kneeling at the feet of an immortal king. Inside, light filters through the long stone corridor, falling directly upon the statues of Ra, of Amun, and of Ramses himself. You stand frozen as the sunlight strikes Ramses, and you understand this is no accident. The ancients calculated the temple so that the sun would shine upon him on the day of his birth and the day of his coronation. A shiver runs down your spine, for you realize Ramses used the very sun to carve his name into eternity. Then you see a different scene. Crowds of people in the 20th century, during the construction of the Aswan Dam. They cut Abu Simbel apart, block by block, statue by statue, and moved it higher to save it from the rising floodwaters. You see thousands of engineers and workers, Egyptians and internationals alike, united to preserve the temple. You hear the whisper. Even the modern world must bow to protect his legacy. And you understand Abu Simbel is not only ancient memory, but living proof that today's humanity still reveres the past. The dream shifts again, and you find yourself at the Ramesseum, Ramses' great mortuary temple. Passing through the entrance, you see massive columns and walls covered in carvings of his life and victories. In the courtyard lies a fallen statue of Ramses, once over 50 feet tall, now broken across the ground. You stand beside the shattered monument, gazing at its pieces, and you hear the whisper. Even stone may fall, but my name still stands. In that moment, you understand greatness is not only found in what survives whole, but also in ruins that still command reverence from generations long after. You continue onward, to Karnak, and to countless other temples bearing Ramses' name. Everywhere you look, his presence endures. Walls retelling the Battle of Kadesh, pillars etched with his titles, towering monuments that defy the passing of time. You realize each stone, each carving, is more than architecture. They are declarations carved in permanence. I lived, and I want the world to remember forever. Standing in the Egyptian night, you watch these monuments under the moonlight. The past and the present blur together. You can almost hear the footsteps of workers still dragging stones, the chants as they heave blocks into place, the chisels striking rock, shaping gods and kings into being. You hear the laughter of crowds during festivals, the music echoing through stone halls. And you understand that in this moment, you are not just a visitor, you are a witness, part of a memory that stretches 3,000 years into the present. You inhale deeply, letting the scent of desert air and ancient stone fill your lungs. You know these monuments were never built only for Ramses' time. They were built for the world today. They stand to remind us that there was once a man who dared to dream of immortality, and with his hands, his power, and his will, he turned that dream into stone reality. You close your eyes, your breathing slowing, and you hear a voice echoing through the walls of stone. Stone may break, but my name will not. Temples may fall, but memory will not. You exhale softly, letting those words guide you into sleep as you continue walking through the timeless halls of Ramses II. Chapter 13. Ramses II in Modern Imagination and Art. You stand among the colossal monuments of ancient Egypt, but the dream pulls you further, beyond deserts and pyramids, into a world of words, of images, of imagination. Here, Ramses II is no longer only a king who once lived. He has become an immortal symbol in art and in the human mind. You see the pages of Western poetry opening before you. On them is the famous poem about Ozymandias, the name the Greeks gave Ramses. You read within the dream, "Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." The words echo like thunder, sending chills through your body. The poet did not only see statues, he saw the irony of time itself, that power may fade, yet memory endures as witness. You feel it deeply. Ramses has become a figure of literature, living in verse as both a warning and an object of awe. You find yourself stepping into a library. Shelves are filled with novels, studies, archaeological texts. Somewhere within each, Ramses appears like a legendary figure. In historical novels, he is painted as a wise and powerful king, his love stories full of drama. In archaeology books, he emerges with precision, every campaign, every monument detailed. You read line after line and realize Ramses has become an endless subject for generations of writers. The dream shifts and you enter a movie theater. On the screen, Ramses takes many forms. Sometimes he is the formidable ruler in films about Moses facing the exodus of Israel. Sometimes he is the extravagant monarch of Hollywood's golden age epics, surrounded by feasts, temples, and golden crowns. At other times, he is merely a passing name in a documentary, yet his presence still holds the audience in silence. In the dark, you hear viewers whisper, "His legacy still echoes through the sands of time." You step next into a modern art gallery. On the walls hang abstract paintings inspired by Ramses, blazing gold, bold strokes, monumental shapes. In another room, contemporary sculptures reimagine his form in steel, glass, and beams of laser light. You realize that even in the 21st century, he remains a source of inspiration, not only for his history, but for the timeless symbol of power, ambition, and immortality he left behind. Then come new sounds, this time from the digital world. In video games, Ramses appears as an immortal leader, commanding armies, building empires. In animated films and fantasy novels, his image is reborn as a god of war, as a king of the cosmos. You understand that modern imagination has carried him far beyond history, transforming him into a symbol that thrives in worlds of fantasy and creativity. You pause, take a deep breath, and hear the whisper of an unseen audience. If this were the true story, which version would we believe? The question lingers, and you understand that imagination itself is the force that keeps Ramses alive. Every era, every person, writes him anew in their own way. For the poet, he is proof of impermanence. For the archaeologist, he is an endless puzzle. For the filmmaker, he is a tragic hero. For the audience, he is the dream that carries them deeper into wonder. You see Ramses not just as a historical figure, but as a mirror reflecting humanity across the ages. People look at him to see power, to see the fragility of time, to see the eternal longing to live forever. And you see yourself reflected in him too, as you listen now, dreaming of a king who lived 3,000 years ago, yet still speaks to you through the language of art. You close your eyes, hearing gentle music rise in your imagination, not an anthem, not a dirge, but a slow rhythm, like the desert wind itself. Your body loosens, your breath slows, and in your mind, Ramses appears not only as the king of Egypt, but as the king of human imagination. And then, a final voice whispers, soft as a lullaby. When stone crumbles, when sand erases, when memory itself changes, I will still live in your poems, in your songs, in your dreams. You let the words carry you, as the dream leads you into the soft darkness of night, where Ramses II still endures, immortal in imagination and art. Chapter 14. Ramses II and his spiritual presence in today's world. You open your eyes and find yourself no longer in the desert or among ancient temples, but standing inside a brightly lit museum. In front of you rests the coffin of Ramses II, his face preserved across thousands of years. You gaze at the tightly closed lips, the broad forehead, the peacefully shut eyes, and you feel as if he is only sleeping a long dream. Around you, as if everyone is standing before something sacred beyond history. Your own heartbeat slows, your breath deepens, and a strange reverence rises inside you. You hear a whisper from deep within yourself. This is not just a mummy. This is a presence. That feeling spreads through your body, and you realize you are touching what countless generations before have felt. From the ancient Egyptians who knelt before Ramses, to modern audiences who gaze upon his face today. Ramses does not live only in history. He lives in spiritual belief, as an energy still echoing through time. You recall the legends of the Pharaoh's curse. They say those who dare disturb the king's eternal rest will suffer misfortune. You imagine yourself stepping deep into the Valley of the Kings, torches flickering, wind whistling through stone corridors. You hear the pounding of hammers as a coffin is pried open, and at that instant, the wind howls stronger, the torches go out, and whispers sweep through the dark like cries of sorrow. Goosebumps cover your skin, yet curiosity urges you forward. Perhaps the curse is not mere superstition, but a warning that a pharaoh never truly dies, and the world of mortals must not trespass carelessly into the realm of the divine. You slow your steps, and the dream carries you outside to the Nile under moonlight. You see people still gathering there today, standing quietly before the flowing water, eyes closed in prayer. They no longer pray to Ra, nor to Osiris, but to pharaohs like Ramses, as if he can still hear, as if he can still bless. You feel a strange energy flowing from the river, as though the waters still carry his breath, his voice, his strength. You hear the whisper of an unseen audience. I feel like the pharaoh is still here, right now. You smile in your dream because you feel it too. There is no need for temples or even a mummy, only close your eyes and listen. And Ramses steps into your imagination, a living god, a source of comfort for anyone seeking connection with the past. You see modern spiritual seekers journeying to Egypt, standing before the statues of Ramses at Abu Simbel, closing their eyes in meditation. They claim to feel the flow of energy from the stone, the sand, the wind, all revolving around the giant figure. You try closing your eyes, breathing deeply, and you too feel your heart beating in rhythm with the earth. In that moment, you are no longer just a listener, but a participant in an invisible ritual where past and present meet. You recall the story of Ramses being sent to France in 1976. They say he was given a passport like a living head of state, escorted by military honor guards. It was not merely diplomacy. It was an acknowledgement that the pharaoh was still a king, still deserving of respect. A shiver runs through you as you realize, even in the modern world of science and reason, his sacred presence could not be denied. You breathe in deeply, letting your mind merge with the wind, and you feel that Ramses II is not only memory, not only history, but a spiritual source people still turn to. Some look to him for lessons of power, some for reminders of impermanence, some for a sense of connection with humanity's eternal flow. You, within this dream, find peace. You close your eyes, letting the wind and the invisible drums lull you. And in that silence, you hear his voice echo softly, like a lullaby. I do not live only in stone. I live in your faith. When you need strength, remember me. When you are afraid, call my name. When you are lost, I will guide you home. You exhale gently, letting those words carry you into sleep, where Ramses II is not just the king of Egypt, but the king of spirit, and of the very dream you are living now. Chapter 15. The end of the journey in the Egyptian dream. You find yourself still standing in the valley where the pharaohs rest. The moon has risen high, its silver light spilling across the golden sand, making the stone blocks shimmer like sacred metal. You hear the wind rushing through the narrow corridors, carrying an echo that sounds like a distant song. It is not the voice of men, nor of gods, but something in between, as if Egypt itself is whispering to you, inviting you to step out of the dream. You turn back and gaze into the distance, where the statues of Ramses still rise in silence. Their cold, powerful eyes follow you, not judging, not leaving. You bow your head, and gratitude swells within you. Throughout this journey, you have walked beside him, heard the wind carry his words, witnessed his victories and defeats, felt both his immortality and his death. And now, as you prepare to leave, your heart knows these memories will never fade. You walk across the sand. Each grain brushes against your feet, cool and soft. Every step feels slower, as if the desert itself is holding you back, reluctant to let you go. But you know it is time. You inhale deeply, filling your lungs with the scent of earth, of stone, of 3,000 years of time. Then you exhale softly, like smoke, letting go of every weight, leaving behind only peace. You look back one last time. Luxor, Abu Simbel, the Ramesseum, all rise again in your mind. You remember the towering columns like a forest of stone, the giant statues glowing beneath the sun, the carved walls still whispering their ancient stories. You smile, because now you understand. These monuments do not belong only to Ramses. They belong to you, to all who still listen, to all who still dream of Egypt. A familiar voice stirs within your thoughts. I have lived, I have died, but I am immortal in your memory. You close your eyes, letting those words linger, like a slow song that cradles you in stillness. The voice is not far, not near. It is inside your heartbeat, inside your breath, inside the dream you have walked through. Your body feels lighter, as if you are floating on the gentle Nile. Cool water touches your skin, soft wind brushes your hair, and the morning sun lays a warm golden light upon you. You let yourself drift with the current. No need to try, no need to search. Every question, every debate, every mystery dissolves into gentle silence. The memories pass by like a film in slow motion. Ramses signing the peace treaty. Ramses standing on his chariot at Kadesh. Ramses walking in the temple of Amun. Ramses lying still in his stone coffin. They move before you, one by one, and you no longer worry about what was truth or what was legend. You see only this. He lived, and his mark was so great that 3,000 years later, you are still listening. That is true immortality. You see yourself back in the modern museum, standing before his mummy. Visitors still walk quietly past, but you know you have seen more than they have. You have stepped into his dream. You have heard his voice. You have seen his life and his death. You place your hand against the glass, and you feel it clearly. Not that you are touching the past, but that the past is touching you. You step back, breathing deeply. Your heart is calm, your body light, your mind at peace. You know this dream has ended, but its echo remains, like the desert wind, like moonlight on the Nile, like the breath of an immortal king. And then you hear one final voice, soft as a lullaby. You have walked with me. You have heard me. And now, you carry me with you. When you sleep, I will be there. When you wake, I will still be there. For I am immortal in the memory of humankind. You exhale gently, letting those words guide you into deep sleep, where time dissolves and only serenity remains. And in the tender darkness, you know the Egyptian dream has closed. But Ramses II is still there, an endless echo across the sands of time. You and I have traveled a long road together, from the first rays of sun striking his statues to the thunder of hooves on the battlefield of Kadesh, from the sacred rites in the temple of Amun to the silent rest of the Pharaoh's tomb. You have walked through Luxor, Abu Simbel, the Ramesseum. You have heard whispers of Moses, of curses, of mysteries never solved. You have seen Ramses in poetry, in art, in modern imagination, and you have felt him as a spiritual presence still alive in our world today. 15 chapters, 15 doors, each one opening into a realm both real and mythical. Ramses II is not only the king of Egypt, he is the king of human memory. And you, through these 3 hours, have not only been a listener, but a witness, a companion, a traveler through time. Now, as the dream of Egypt closes, you feel lighter, calmer, your breath slow and steady. All worries have dissolved into the desert sand, leaving only peace. Ramses II remains, a distant echo, lulling you into deeper sleep, or guiding you into reflection in the silence of the night. If you are hearing this now, I invite you to gently press like to show support, subscribe to continue the journeys ahead, and leave a comment with your time zone or where you are listening from so we may know how far this dream has reached across the world. Take one last deep breath, exhale softly, and let yourself drift fully into sleep. Sleep may end, but the echo of history will remain. Ramses II, the immortal king, will walk with you into the dreams yet to come.